We are live on Friday, February the 7th, 2 days until Super Bowl 59 this Sunday, and we're going to build it up big time here on the Friday edition of WagerTalk Today. I am Steve Merrill, filling in for the Prez. He is scheduled to be back on Monday despite the Super Bowl hangover. And comment below on the replay and the live chat if you're watching us live here and let us know what the Prez is up to. What's he up to? Fake answers only on WagerTalk Today. We're joined with Marco D'Angelo at the top. Also going to have the prop master, Andy Lang. Of course, Gianni the Greek at the end with the Steam Report, but also Dave Mason in between from Bet Online, one of the sharpest offshore books. Looking forward to talking to him, asking where the Super Bowl action has come and where he thinks it will come this weekend from the public. And don't forget, I will have my Fade the Public Super Bowl edition up this weekend as well. So click subscribe, click that bell here on Wager Talk TV. Going to look at some college hoops, some pro basketball, but a lot of Super Bowl. And let's start it off with Marco D'Angelo from Las Vegas, Nevada. Marco, Super Bowl might not be in Las Vegas, the game itself, but I'm sure the city is still hopping. What's it like there in the big city right now?
Oh, Steve, absolutely. Vegas is one of the best destinations to watch the Super Bowl. It's always been. It has dropped off a little bit the last few years as we've got more and more states with legalized betting, but there's still no place like Vegas, and I love all the tourists that come in. They like to have a few cocktails. They like to sit down at poker tables. And, well, you know what? If they're going to lose their money, Steve, they might as well lose it to me. So I enjoy this time of year all the time and look forward to in a couple of weeks. We'll have March Madness, and we'll be doing it all over again with the tourists.
Look at Marco D'Angelo taking advantage of the poor tourist as they enter Sin City. Hey, that money's got to go somewhere. Might as well go to your pockets, Marco. I got no problem with that. Poker, well, it's not a zero-sum game because they take the rake. If you stay there long enough, everybody loses, but some people lose more than others. Remember, within 20, 30 minutes at the poker table, if you don't know who the sucker is at the table, it's probably you. That's one of the best betting adages in all of the world. All right, we're going to look at some college hoops, some NBA for Friday night in a moment, some daily action, but let's talk with the Super Bowl here. Give us a prop. We've had everybody come on this week. And by the way, the replays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday shows are here archived on WagerTalk TV here on YouTube. So go back and watch tons of free props. Let's keep it rolling. What's a prop you're looking at for the big game?
Well, Steve, I'm looking at a total yardage prop, and just want to tell the listeners, and I'm sure everybody else has said the same thing to your viewers this week. If you're looking to bet over props, bet them early. If you're looking to bet under props, bet them on game day. That's when you're going to get the best value. And the prop I'm going to tell you about is under 362.5 total yards for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, your prop bets should be part of your handicap, what you think is going to happen in the game. And here's the key points that make me look at this to go under the total yardage. Philadelphia, last 16 games, they've held 15 of those 16 opponents to 23 points or less. Philadelphia, in its 3 playoff games, has rushed the football for 683 yards. We know that's what they do with Barkley. They're averaging 6.5 yards per carry during the playoffs. Kansas City, although they've got a very good defense, down the stretch, last 4 games, their run defense has been very suspect. Now, we can throw one of those 4 games out because it was against Denver, the final game of the season. And if you remember, they sat everybody. But this is still a team that has allowed 4.85 yards per rush over the last 4 games. And teams are running the football against them an average of 34 rushing attempts a game. Why do I say all those are pertinent things for this under? Because both offenses are efficient, but they don't score generally in quick fashion, especially against good defenses like we have here. I think both of these teams are going to move the football, but it's going to be long, methodical drives, which chew up clock, which narrow the number of possessions for each team. With that said, I think Philadelphia will hold the ball longer because of their running offense and the way they utilize the tight ends. And we know Kansas City has trouble stopping tight ends. So what's that mean? You're going to keep the clock moving. Whether you're running the football or you're throwing the football, it's going to be a completion, one of those high percentage plays, maybe get, those chunk yards, 7 to 10 yards, keep the chains moving. I think this will be a lower scoring game, which is also going to result in the offense being lower and Mahomes being the most popular player on the planet. That's why I'm looking to take this one under, because it's going to continue to rise. This actually opened at 245.5 and is up to 262.5, Steve. Well, it looks like we lost Steve there for a second. So I'll just keep the show running along here, and we will take a look at the next prop that we have, or not prop, but the next game. We're going to go to college basketball tonight, and we've got St. John's and UConn. And, knee-jerk reaction to this one, guys, is you see UConn, defending national champs, at home on a Friday night, laying a small number. You want to jump on UConn. This is a Friday night TV game. It's a statement game, you would think, for UConn. But this UConn team is not the same dominant team that we've seen in the past 2 seasons. They had to reload a lot of players after last year's national championship team. And note that I used the word reload. There's never rebuild with these high-powered programs. It's just reloading. And sometimes it takes the chemistry and everything to fit the pieces together before these teams gel. Now, I will say Connecticut is playing better. They are, this is what you want to see with the team starting to peak as you get into February and then carry that momentum into March. So they should be in good shape come March. But I'm looking at a St. John's team. And Rick Pitino, in his second year at St. John's, has done a marvelous job with this team. They have 6 core players that they use a 6-man rotation that take up an average of 26 to 31 minutes per game. They have balanced scoring. They've got all 6 guys score in this with this team. What I also like about this team, though, is the experience. Of those 6 players that I mentioned, 3 of them are seniors. 2 of them are senior guards. And that's something that you can't overlook because they're the quarterback of the offense. And whenever you have experienced guard play, they're not going to be rattled by good defensive teams or going into hostile environments. And speaking of good defensive teams, St. John's has been incredible. This team has held 8 of its last 10 opponents to 68 points or less. And you know me, I always tell you, if I can get the better defense getting points, I'm going to be there. So I'm going to line up on St. John's plus the 3.5. We've seen the line bounce around a little bit this morning, taking them for the full game. But I'm going to give you a little asterisk, Steve, here. If you want to split the bet up and take a little wager on first half, guess what? UConn this year at home, first half, 0-10 against the spread. So you want to put a little first half and full game there with St. John's.
That's really interesting, Marco, because last year, of course, we had Purdue and UConn in the finals, and Purdue for several seasons was like the best first half bet in all of college basketball. And now you've got a year later, the defending national champs, the worst first half best bet. Obviously, it's been a difficult season for UConn overall, so it will be interesting to see if they start to turn things around here with the tournament just a couple months away. I did my top 25 weekend video. I'll have another one for Saturday this week. And I said that UConn barely was in the top 25 video last week. They were 25th in the country in that game against Marquette. Of course, they did pull the upset on the road. But that was also, St. John's just beat Marquette. And UConn, of course, pulled the upset on the road. But I mentioned the net ratings. UConn was 36-37 last week. So that's how far they've fallen from the national title. It'll be interesting to see if they do turn things around. Hey, another team in basketball, we'll look at the NBA now that has fallen, has been the Phoenix Suns. Just got blown out by Oklahoma City the other night. Curious to see if you think they bounce back tonight, though, against a really bad Utah Jazz squad.
Yeah, Steve, and a couple things to note as we look at NBA games this week. This is one of the most tricky weeks of the NBA because, the trade deadline, teams that, are rumored to make trades, then make trades, don't make trades. You never know how the teams are going to react. And once they do make the trades, sometimes it takes a few games for everybody to realize their new roles with the team. So, have a little bit of caution this week and for the next couple games with the NBA. Now, with that said, we've got a situation tonight. Phoenix is returning home off of a road trip. Steve, I don't like teams when they come off a road trip, that first game back at home, but we got a couple different things in play in this game tonight. First off, as you said, Phoenix got embarrassed in their last game at Oklahoma City. They lost 140-109. Just a horrible performance by them. No defense at all for them, and that's something we see a lot of anymore in the NBA with these high-scoring games. But the problem was there was a lot of distractions for Phoenix. The talk was the trades, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, mainly Kevin Durant. Was he going? Was he staying? What was going to happen? And that's all distractions to teams. And I think that was part of the problem in that Oklahoma City game the other night. So now they return home with egg on their face from that game. So I expect them to play better off of that loss. And speaking of the trade deadline, well, there was a trade in place with Phoenix. We had a 3-team deal supposedly that was sending Kevin Durant back to the Warriors, and through the 3-team trade would have ended up with Jimmy Butler in Phoenix. Now, Butler had expressed that's exactly where he wanted to land, and it looked like it was going to be a done deal until what? Well, Kevin Durant said, no, thank you. I don't want to go back to the Warriors, and kind of nixed that trade. So now there's some pressure on Kevin Durant. I think he's got to lead by example because this team could have had a different look, could have had a player that wanted to be there, and he's the guy that stopped it. So I look for him to have a big effort tonight. I also look for them to have a good effort defensively after that embarrassment of giving up 140 points. And, oh, by the way, anytime they've given up 135 or more points, they've done it 6 times since 2023. They're 5-1 against the spread in the next game. And we're catching a Utah team that is coming off maybe a little fat and sassy feeling. They beat Golden State in their last game, 131-128 on the road. So they might be coming in here feeling a little too good about themselves. And just like I said, with Phoenix having distractions, Golden State had to have a ton of distractions too, because every free agent was rumored to go to Golden State in the last week. And so they didn't know what was going to happen there. And I think Utah caught them at the right time. I'll take Phoenix tonight and lay the points.
Marco D'Angelo talking a little NFL, college hoops, and NBA. 3 different sports in about a 10-minute span here. And, of course, Marco covers multiple sports daily at WagerTalk.com. And, by the way, Marco, I've got a free play on that game, Suns Jazz. So I invite people to go check out my page to see if I agree or disagree with Marco D'Angelo at WagerTalk.com. And while they're there at WagerTalk.com, Marco, what can they find on your page?
Well, we've got a special going right now, guys. And, if you want to take the cost down for the season, pick your favorite handicapper. This is a site-wide special right now. You can get through next year's Super Bowl regularly $19.99. You can get it for just $11.99. That comes out to $23 a week, and you get every play. And guys, we are on a roll right now. It's been a roll that's gone for the last year. But over the last 49 days, we're 67-40, up $5,800 for our clients. 3-0 sweep last night, and it's just been a very good run. Join us. You'll get every play I have in every sport, including my 5% plays. Those plays sell for $35 by themselves. We're on a 21-6 run with those. And we have a lot of freebie extras to the All Access guys during the season, mainly some horse racing, Triple Crown races coming up.
And right, that's All Access. So once again, it's football, baseball, basketball, and any off sport, including horse racing, anything Marco releases. It works out to, $23 a week. To put that in perspective, 1 play a day is $25. You're getting a week's worth of plays for less than the cost of 1 play. So if you are serious about taking a true investment approach to sports betting, this is the offer to get. And you can get multiple cappers. You don't just have to lock in with one guy. You can get multiple cappers, save $800 instantly on every capper, and get every best bet for about $1 a day, about $3 a day, about $1 a play for the next year plus. And by the way, it starts early. If you sign up Friday or Saturday this week, you get those days included for free. That's Marco D'Angelo, WagerTalk.com. Go check him out. Red hot, up 27 net games over the last 7 weeks in all sports. All right, another way to diversify your portfolio, we talk about this all the time. I talked about it Tuesday when I was on here hosting Wager Talk Today, is Andy Lang, the prop master, because once again, there's not a lot of correlation between what Andy releases and what I release or what Marco releases. Andy focuses on darts, lacrosse, auto racing, golf, but he also does the big boy sports, football, baseball, basketball, hockey props. Andy, let's get right to it. What is something you're looking at in the prop world here? Let's start with the NFL. We've been doing that with every guest. And this is an interesting one because this isn't just the game itself, it's the overall playoffs. You've got the receiving yards leader for the entire postseason. Tell us about that.
Yeah, Steve. Well, actually, one thing I have to bring up is I actually know what happened to Prez. We talked about he may have been involved in the Anthony Davis trade. No, that's not what happened. Elon Musk cut him. It's very sad.
He was, well, if we were trying to make, I won't even say it. I was going to say, if we were trying to make WagerTalk.com more efficient, is that where we would start? But I won't even say it.
It's Johnny Detroit brought in Elon Musk, and some unfortunate decisions had to be made. And no, I'm just kidding.
Prez will land on his feet. So now that we have the right answer, let's upgrade the question of the day. Where will Prez land? Say that fast. Where will the Prez land? I can't say it, Andy. Look at that. I can't even lie to the public. My tongue won't allow it.
He'll land on his feet like he always does. Yeah, this is a really interesting prop here for most receiving yards in the playoffs. Do you know who the leader is by any chance?
I would not have known had I not seen the cheat sheet from your notes. Yeah, I was shocked by this, actually.
Yeah, Gianni Brown. Of course, Gianni Brown is the leader. Why wouldn't he? He's got 229 yards. I'm going to take Dallas Goedert to end the playoffs with the most receiving yards. So Dallas Goedert's at 188. So when we do the math, he only needs 41 yards to pass Brown. But what's interesting, his over-under for this game is 52.5. So he only needs, 41 to get to this total, but his over-under is 52.5. The other, suspects that could get there is Travis Kelce. He needs 94 yards, but he had a pretty bad game last week. And A.J. Brown needs 110 yards. Him and Jalen Hurts haven't really been going and clicking. So I think this Dallas Goedert at minus 125 is a pretty solid play. I think Goddard's going to be involved pretty heavily in the pass attack. He's been Jalen Hurts' most reliable target moving in the playoffs, and I think the Chiefs are really going to focus on Saquon Barkley. So I like Goedert to go over his receiving yards, and if he gets to this 52.5, he flies by Gianni Brown, and now Kelce and Brown need huge days to get there. So I think there's a pretty solid play on Dallas Goedert to lead the NFL playoffs in receiving yards.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you is this versus playing the game itself. And as you just said, there's a little risk some Kansas City guy could come out of nowhere and pass everybody. But if you look at the top 5 right now, the top 4 are out of the playoffs, and the top 2 are Commander receivers, as you just mentioned. And Jaden Daniels almost 200 yards ahead of every other quarterback. Josh Allen is second in passing yards because, once again, when you're behind, you throw the ball more. So it's always counterintuitive. Quarterbacks don't necessarily have big games when their team wins. And the Eagles are a slight dog, so you got that going for you as well. They should theoretically maybe throw the ball a little bit more if they're trailing. So it's an interesting handicap from the prop master, Andy Lang. All right, let's look at some daily sports here, or at least a daily sport. We'll look at the NBA. Trade deadline has passed. Get back to a little bit of normalcy, hopefully, before we have the All-Star break, and then all chaos breaks out for 2 weeks here in a couple of weeks when they don't play at all for a week or two. And what's something you're looking at tonight in the NBA on Friday for an NBA player prop?
Yeah, let's go to a guy that has not been putting up a lot of stats. That's Grady Dick, and we'll take his under. I had this at 20.5. I see some books have 21.5. So if you're going to tail this play, obviously take the under 21.5. Steve, he's gone under in 16 out of 20 games, 8 out of the last 10. And, it's interesting. RJ Barrett appears to be out. Pirtle seems to be out. But even with those guys out of the lineup, his stats have really suffered. Last 3 games without RJ Barrett, he's gone under. Last 2 games without Jakob Pirtle, he's gone under. And he's played Oklahoma City in December, and he only had 16 points, rebounds, and assists in that one. As you know, Steve, Oklahoma City, probably the best defense in the NBA. This is a Toronto team that's going nowhere. They traded for Brandon Ingram. I saw what is going on there. This doesn't seem like a team with a plan, and Grady Dick has just not been filling up the stat sheet. So I like his under points, rebounds, and assists. You could also look at his under 3-pointers, but I'll be sticking at his under PRA tonight.
And before people knew the Prez wasn't hosting, they had this segment over under about 10 minutes longer because Grady Dick would have thrown Prez on a tangent that we never would have recovered from. But I won't go there. We'll keep rolling here with the prop master, Andy Lang. Hey, I meant to promo this at the top of the show because if there's any hook that would have ever kept people on forever, it would have been the UFC violence parlay. And that's what we're going to get right now from Andy Lang because he covers all the sports. The UFC violence parlay is here, folks. Pay attention. Get your notepads out.
Yeah, let's take two fights to not go the distance. I think someone's getting knocked out or choked out in both of these. We'll start with Justin Tafa and Taliesin Teixeira. Both these guys are strikers. You will not see much wrestling in this one. These guys are heavyweights, Steve. And Taliesin Teixeira is undefeated. He's coming off a Contender Series win. He's been fighting nothing but tomato cans, and he's been getting away with not having very good striking defense. Like, he gets hit a lot, but he also hits really, really hard. And the other guy that hits really hard is Justin Tafa. These guys are going to stand in the middle of the octagon. They're going to throw a lot, and someone's going to sleep. The UFC knows what they're doing when they put Justin Tafa on a main event card. They put him there because it's exciting. So these two heavyweights, someone's going to sleep. I like this one to not go the distance. And then we've got Jimmy Crute and Rodolfo Bellato. Bellato has horrific striking defense. He got knocked down by Ihor Potieria, who's one of the worst UFC fighters around. And then he's fighting Jimmy Crute. Steve, this is a guy that retired from the UFC almost 2 years ago and then decided to come back. And he was like, I think I'm too good to not be in the UFC, so I'm going to come back. And then I was like, okay, well, now I got red flags. And he's like, no, I'm in a great space. I found God. I probably won't bring a Bible to the octagon. And I was like, okay, I'm totally out on this guy. He had bad cardio when he was in UFC. I can't imagine his cardio has gotten much better since he retired and decided to come back. This screams someone's going to sleep or getting choked out because I think Jimmy Crute has one round of cardio and then it falls off a cliff. So let's take both of these fights to not go the distance. If you have some of the alt lines, you could take both fights under 2.5 rounds. That gets you down to minus 120. But look for fireworks in both of these fights.
The UFC violence parlay. It's always a good leg to it when a guy comes back from retirement and wasn't in good shape in his prime and is now older. It's mathematically impossible to get younger when you come back from retirement. So I love it. Andy Lang breaking it down for us. Golf, UFC, Super Bowl. You got a lot of other sports, Andy. What do people have going on at your page? What can they find? But also that Super Bowl, the Super Bowl special for about $3 a day is a fantastic offer as well.
Smoking deal. We're number one the last 2 years. Yesterday, full disclosure, we were 0-2 in golf. Had a decent little darts day, 3-2. Went 2-1 in NHL and 1-0 in the NBA, and that's kind of a good example of what we've got going on for this weekend. We've got 3 UFC plays up, including a 5% on Saturday. We've got all your Super Bowl props that are up there. We've got lacrosse play, and of course, we've got NBA, NHL, and any more golf plays that we'll have moving forward. WT.buzz/AL. And like you said, Steve, it's just if you're going to invest, I know it's a big investment, but I try and tell people, like, I know it's a big chunk of money, but long term, it is such a great deal. It is so much less expensive when you're buying a longer term package. You look at that daily cost, and it just makes all the sense in the world. So WT.buzz/AL, and I cannot wait for the rest of this weekend, Steve.
That's Andy Lang, the prop master, WagerTalk.com. And, look, you don't have to get a one-year package this weekend. We're just offering it because it's an $800 discount. It's been the best price you're going to get all year. But we do have weekly, monthly, daily subscriptions. A one-day all-access is $39. A 1 week is $99. So if you're building your bankroll, there's nothing wrong with the smaller entry points. You're getting the same best bets whether you're a one-day or a one-year client at WagerTalk.com. But once again, if you're ready to take that true long-term investment approach, this is the weekend to do it because the Super Bowl special gets it down to about $3 a day, about $1 a play, and there's no promo code needed. And you can check that out right now through the weekend, WagerTalk.com. All right, let's get a look from the other side of the counter here, a bookmaker perspective. Dave Mason, betonline.ag, one of the largest and sharpest sports books in the world, joins us. And Dave, really looking forward to talking with you. Steve Merrill here, filling in for the Prez. He's on assignment. But don't you worry, he'll be back next week. Dave, let's get right to it. What kind of action have you guys been getting on the side in total? And then we'll dig a little bit deeper maybe into some props.
Yeah, thanks for having me again, guys. Big week, obviously. As far as the side and the total is concerned, KC's currently favored by a 0.55% of the cash, and 57% of the tickets are on KC. Then let's go money line, minus 118 KC, minus 102 for Philly, 64% of the money's on KC, 51% of the tickets on Philly, and then the total currently down to 48.5 when as high as 50. 65% of the money is on the over. 74% of the tickets are on the over. So yeah, we're going to be needing Philly. It looks like come Super Bowl Sunday. We have a big futures need on the Eagles too for the Super Bowl market. The Eagles are a very large win force, and KC's a very, very, very small loser. So go Birds.
Yeah, it makes sense, Dave, because of course, what the Eagles started, I think 10-1 last year and finished like 1-6 or whatever. Our producer Dan Alexander, I'm sure, has it ingrained in his memory as an Eagles fan. Let me ask you this though: how much of the public has yet to come in? How much of the public percentage will you see this weekend compared to what you've seen already?
Yeah, I mean, there's still most of the action to come in, but I mean, Super Bowl does see a lot of, like, some guy tweeted to me the other day, said only 5% of the actions come in, and I'm like, dude, that's just not correct. A lot of early action comes in. Last week it flattens out, not a lot of action after the first 24 to 48 hours, but it picked up this week. I would say 2/3 to 75% of the action on those on the big three, on the spread total money line. I would say as far as props are concerned, 80 to 90% of the action's yet to come in.
That's interesting that the props have not seen much action yet. What have been some sharp moves on the props? I assume the early action is probably more sharp money, respected money. What were you hit on early, and where do you think some of these lines will move this weekend?
Yeah, as far as the props are concerned, well, full disclosures that we have a props software, the props builder, where all the big stuff is, like the stats, like for the over/under passing yards and stuff like that. I don't have access to that, so I'm not sure what the sharp action is there. So I can't really include that. What I can include is some of the stuff that we offer within the sports book, which is more the non-standard stuff. So I can share some of that sharp stuff. I'm going to get a sharp report from our provider who offers that stuff, and I'll tweet those out. But as of now, let's see. No successful 2-point conversion. That was sharp, minus 265. Over 6.5 punts, even money. Under 125 seconds on the anthem. That's gotten bet. And under 123, too. That's bet down to 120.5. Hurts MVP got some sharp action, plus 360. And then if you want to get really crazy with some of the crazier stuff, Taylor Swift showing more than Jason Kelsey, minus 400. And we can't forget about the Puppy Bowl. Under 200.5 points on the Puppy Bowl. Yes, sharps will bet absolutely anything.
So let me ask you about the national anthem. I'm so glad you brought that up, because one thing I love about Bet Online is that you all are not afraid to put up unique props, whether it's political props, Super Bowl props, stuff that a lot of the U.S. books just won't put up or can't put up. The Super Bowl national anthem, obviously, over the years, I believe, was it Kelly Clarkson 15 years ago that messed up a note or a word, and that threw the time off. I know you guys have disclaimers now that it starts when they say "oh," it ends on the first brave, because sometimes they say brave 2 or 3 times. But there are people out there, and I get this question every year. I just did a podcast Monday, and they asked me the same thing. Why doesn't somebody who's watching the rehearsal go bet $1 million on the national anthem? I go, well, first of all, there are some people that probably know how long it's going to be, but the limits are low for a reason, right? And do you guys feel like you have a person or two every year that's betting this that actually knows the outcome probably?
Yeah, I mean, the national anthem is always kind of headache, but it's fun, right? We got to offer it. Yeah, the $1 million things, I always get that. Why don't they just bet it? I was like, well, we have limits. You know what I mean? You could go bet $100,000 on the spread, but it's only going to be a few hundred bucks for the anthem over under. I mean, we used to have them higher, but too many times it's just turned into a headache. I mean, what you probably 5 years ago, I forget when they played in Tampa, and that news reporter stood outside the stadium, like across the river or something, right. And he videotaped himself. Remember that? And there's every year you get suspicious betting coming in. It's one of those things that this prop might not be open on Super Bowl Sunday. So the sharps and whoever the security guy is, holding a stopwatch at the rehearsals and giving this information to something, they've kind of spoiled it for everybody else. We have to have smaller limits, and it might come down early. So yeah, don't quit your day job trying to get a security job at the at the stadium during rehearsals thinking you're become a millionaire overnight.
Yeah, I love it. And it's I always tell people to look, it's a loss leader for the sports books. It's an advertising expense, right? Because you and I are talking about it right now here on the show, and it's good promotion. And I think people miss that. But yeah, for novice bettors out there, you're not able to bet $1 million or $100,000 on the national anthem. Let me ask you this. What kind of bet would you take on the coin flip? When I looked last week, you guys had like minus 101 each side, I believe, heads, tails, even before the Super Bowl, maybe. Some books out there are charging a 30-cent line, which is just highway robbery.
Yeah.
What kind of action do you get on the coin toss?
We're currently 101 each side. Let's see. Limits
Good for
are
you, by the way.
1,000.
I love that.
What's that?
Good for you, I said, by the way. Gianni the Greek's up next, and we were talking about this Tuesday, and I threw you guys a compliment saying at least you guys are giving people a fun chance on something that's 50-50.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, funny story for that. Our limits are currently 1,000 at 101. We might go higher, but a few years ago, it's funny, we had them at $10,000 limits, and we were taking numerous bets at minus 101 on each side. It's like, good God, you see these people are just. I mean, I get it, minus 101. That's as reduced juice as you're going to get, but still $10,000 is still great. I dug into the accounts, and it was just a bunch of people like trying to, roll over bonuses. You know what I mean? It's always like, everybody knows these a damn angle. Stop ruining the damn coin toss with your damn angles, man. So the following year, we screw these guys. We went to like minus 105. And to stop that, but then people are busting our balls. Oh, you're doing minus 105, and so we're back to minus 101. Take the limits down. We've changed our bonus system where that kind of shenanigans aren't going to manipulate the bonuses and that kind of stuff. But it's always a freaking whack-a-mole with all this stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, look, I mean, long term, you're getting plus 101 each way when you're taking those bets on a 50-50 prop. So it's not a bad idea. And I love that story because it's something I do not recommend people doing. Although the great thing about the coin flip, you can literally win or lose before kickoff. It's the only way you can do that in the Super Bowl. Dave, thank you so much for joining us. Great insight in behind the counter, and let people know what you got going on at betonline.ag.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Come on over to betonline.ag this weekend. As mentioned, we have more props than anybody. We have the traditional props, the player prop statistics within our third-party software, DST, our props builder. You can actually parlay all those for some same-game parlay, big payouts. And then within our system itself, we have all the exotic stuff, hundreds, if not over 1,000, crazy stuff. The traditional stuff, everything. We have a $50,000 props contest on our contest page, so get on over to betonline.ag this weekend. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dave. And you can also follow Dave Mason on Twitter, on X. He is a great follow on Twitter, on X. It's at Dave Mason BOL for Bet Online, at Dave Mason BOL. Highly recommend following him on X as well. Once again, he does answer your questions. If you have any specific prop questions this week, and chime away on X at Dave Mason BOL on X/Twitter. All right, I referenced Gianni the Greek. We talked about the coin toss on Tuesday. We've got Gianni on now. And Greek, I just asked Dave Mason about the minus 101. They do still offer that. He said they were getting crushed on bonus rollovers when they had it at minus 101. People were betting 10K years ago, so they went to 105. They caught slack. They're back at 101. But I was shocked. The limit is 1,000. And he said they've changed the bonus structure. I mean, look, you don't want to have somebody bet 100,000, then you're out for, a liability on almost a 50-50. I get that, but still 1,000? You and I would take more than 1,000 at plus 101.
Here's why, real quickly, because there's rooms that are bonus hunters. I actually worked back in the day with a bonus hunting room where that's all you do. They just bonus hunt. We were paying $300 per person that would give us their ID and stuff so that they would open up accounts, and we would just. Back then, they were giving reload bonuses of 50%, 100%. So we were getting all these bonuses, and betting both sides of games with different books. And because I had steam coming in, we knew the line's going to move this way. So we were even hitting middles through different books. The problem was back then that it wasn't as legit as it now. So we had to use so many offshore books that just weren't on the up and up. And you don't know which side you're going to be winning with. Like, we could be winning all the side A with this one book. Even though we're betting both sides, it just fell that way. And what happens is the bank started, like the figures started getting so big with this one book, they just didn't pay us. So like after months and months of work, we weren't able, we were so happy making all this money, but it's the way it was happening was we just kept winning with that book. And once they screwed us, it was like, wow. But now I know there's guys that do it because there's so many legitimate books like Bet Online that will do legit bonuses. We'll actually pay them out. And I'm sure there's rooms still doing that do nothing but bonus hunt, that just keep ringing up new bonuses, taking advantage of every free bet opportunity and stuff like that, where they're not even trying to win. They're just trying to take advantage of all the free stuff. And I mean, there's guys that are masters at doing that. So I think that's the reason for that. And again, it's if they're betting for free, even though it's a coin toss, a -101, it isn't like the worst bet they're making. If you go in the casino, and very few bets other than, blackjack's going to give you a less than 1% hold. So I think that's the reason for it. Because otherwise, like you said, I would be booking that all day.
Right.
You're going to give me 101 on a coin flip, I'll be betting it all day. It's the same way. You know what I mean? Give me plus 101. I'll be betting with you every single day. Short term, I could lose. But as long as I have the bankroll, I'm not going to lose. That's just not going to happen. If you're going to give me 101 on a coin flip, I think that's what it has most to do with. But yeah, I'm surprised. That's surprising. I would think they would be taking a lot more than that. But again, because it's bonus hunting, it makes sense.
Yeah. I was shocked that it was only a dime limit. My guess is if somebody calls in, they review the account, they want to bet more, they will probably take it. He might not have told us that side of the story as well. But yeah, the old sharp better's dilemma back in the day is that you win, you still lose when they don't pay you. And because we've all been there.
Because the guys that scalp right now, most use, like some use Pinnacle, some will use Chris, some will use Bet Online. Depending on the sport, you use a different book to scalp versus that. Like you're seeing what they are, you see off market, and you're trying to work middles through other books. What happens is you're usually losing with the Pinnacle side and winning with the local book side. I trust Pinnacle to pay me.
Yeah.
I trust Pinnacle to pay me a lot more than the pizza store down the street. That's where they're getting stuck nowadays too, because they're using so many off-screen books to scalp and middle against the sharp books. And the sharp books are usually going to be the ones you lose to, and you're going to win against the square ones. But the problem is getting paid by the square ones. And the guys that I know that did it here, because I actually funded a group that did really well, middling and scalping. They did nothing but that. They kick you out. You get great comps, great bonuses, cruises from Caesars and all that stuff, but they just kick you out. Then you just run out of names. Like there's only so many people in my family that I could go and open accounts with. And then you got to pull out of here and pull in there, take out of here, take in there. And it just became too much of a hassle. So I was like, you guys, they made enough money. They're doing it on their own now. So God bless them. I hope they're crushing it. Because there's a lot of money in scalping and middling.
Yeah, and we'll get to the daily action here in a second. But what I'll say is you hit the nail on the head is that the books you're winning at long term, it's not a good thing because they're off. You're right. Pinnacle is sharp. Bet Online is sharp. And you theoretically, if you're finding discrepancies in the line, those other books are slow. You're going to beat them, and they're either not going to pay or they're going to kick you out. So at least you get paid and get kicked out by the legal books now in the U.S., like Caesars, MGM. So you don't have to worry about that aspect. But it's a short-lived endeavor, really, and that's why the financial markets pull in Gianni and myself and the Prez and all of us a little bit more day by day because it's such a big market and you never have to worry about things like that. Hey, let's look at some daily action. By the way, you'll be back tomorrow on Saturday, last call, 11 a.m. Eastern, Sunday, noon Eastern, right here. You've got the Steam Room this weekend. We'll talk about that in a moment. But what's some steam that you're seeing today on the Friday card?
Yeah, so far, not too much action. Here's what I'll give you. I'll give you guys 2 college basketball, 2 NBA, and then I'll read off some player props too that just came in. Because I know a lot of people like to bet the props. Let's go to college basketball first. 883 USC plus the 14.5. 892 under 155.5. Utah State, Fresno State. The college basketball has been on fire. Anyone that's been coming in on WagerTalk Today every morning and getting the Steam report, if you've been leaning that way and picked off a couple of those plays, you've probably done really well. I know I only used 4 of them yesterday. All 4 of them won. Not saying they're going to be 100%, but right now it seems to be dialed in the college basketball. In the NBA, 505 over 242 Milwaukee, Atlanta, and 509 over 225 Philadelphia, Detroit. In player props, here's what I got. J.R. Kelly. What is that? Under 13.5 points. That's the Pistons and the Sixers. Same game, Pistons and the Sixers. Under 27.5, up to -130. Tyrese Maxey points. Tyrese Maxey total points, under 27.5, -130. And then Bucks Atlanta. What is over 8.5? I don't. Crazy. KREJCY. So I don't even watch NBA. I don't even know how to even pronounce his name, but those are some of the props that just came in. You guys probably know better than me. Like I said, I haven't watched an NBA game in I don't know how long ago.
And that's why you have a better quality of life, because I try not to watch too much of the NBA in game either, as you know. And yeah, like I said, I watch the playoffs. That's about it. I like games that matter. The NBA is a great moneymaker. It's situational based for me, and watching them on one given night. I'll pick up little nuggets sometimes when a team comes back, falls short, whatnot. But
I don't want to interrupt you, man.
NBA Daily's rough.
Keep putting out content, Steve. I love watching your stuff, bro. I was telling Gianni about that because you know the X's and O's like so much better than I do, and seeing someone's and in depth stuff that I just don't know. And that's why I lean on guys like yourself and actually listen to them to get a different perspective. I like even more when you disagree with something that we may be on, because when you really make sense, it saves me money a lot of times. Because a lot of these guys don't have time to make a lot of decisions. They see a little edge, right, they fire. But you have time to be in depth, a lot more in depth. So I love what you've been doing, bro. I love all the content you did during football. Please continue that through the basketball season.
I appreciate that. That makes it worthwhile, and that's why I always tell people, comment below too when I'm doing the videos, because when people say they're finding it useful, I keep honestly do more videos, right? Because I don't need to just talk to myself,
And if I'm watching
and same
it,
with
and
you.
again, I know if I'm watching it, I know there's a lot of guys like myself are watching it too. Like we're not going to comment, we're going to we'll do but we're not commenting all that stuff. But I promise you, they're watching it. We're watching it, man.
Well, I appreciate that, because I started the college basketball top 25 for Saturday last week. So we had no football, and I do that during the college football season. And the reason I do top 25 is because they're spotlight games. I have to have a cutoff somewhere, and it just makes it easy for me to figure what to focus on. But yeah, I've said for years, if you can't basically do a 30-second soundbite or 3 or 4 sentences on why you like a play, for people out there that are having trouble cutting down their volume, I highly recommend doing that. Even if you're in your own house, type up a couple sentences, because like you said, it's a great way to make a short list. What Johnny's talking about is, math-based. These guys are firing on numbers, right? And it's like it's high volume. I've become more of a low-volume guy over the years, and it works for me. Everyone's style is different. But yeah, doing the videos helps me make my short list. It helps me leave some games off the cut. And a lot of it is statistical based. And I've always said, like, people think you have to watch games. It is impossible, humanly impossible, to handicap 364 Division I college basketball teams and watch games. You just cannot do it. And there's not even a robot that could do it. So you have to either specialize or have short lists. And, I dig deeper, but I look at numbers, and I can kind of read between the lines with the numbers. And I think sometimes watching games is misleading, actually. It gives you a false sense of what's really going on. But I appreciate that. That's awesome to hear, and I will keep them coming. I'm going to do the top 25, and I'm going to do the Fade the Public Super Bowl edition. I'm going to ask you this, because I was asking Dave as well. I'm going to talk some props in it this week. That everything's come together for 4 or 5 days. What do you see as some prop action this weekend? What's something I can say that might be a little public, a little square, as far as versus the sharps and some of these props maybe?
What scares me a little bit is when I see like the two-way action, like when we bet over a player prop or something and it gets the respect, but then I know another group comes in the other way. Like that always tends to worry me. I haven't seen a lot of that this year, which is good. And that's what I expect, because it's that kind of coin flip game. So everybody kind of has that opinion. And I think it's a great game to book. Like most people already made their opinions up on the sides. And when it comes to the props, we've placed most of them already. And now it's just waiting over tonight, all day tomorrow, and real early Sunday to see which ones is the market, the recreational bettors going to force back up. Meaning we went under, let me tell you now, we took Jalen Hurts anytime touchdown. Why did we bet that early? Because we know the betting public's going to bet that as well. So we got down at -110. I'm not sure what that is, but then what the price is right now. But then we also went ahead and bet like Jalen Hurts under 40 rushing yards, under 40.5, -110. I don't know what that number is right now, but I'm sure it got some respect, at least when we bet it. Now it's sitting back and waiting to see. When the public jumps in, they're going to bet a lot of these back up. And it's me noticing now, are we wanting to get more money on? And here's a perfect example of that. Saquon Barkley, okay? We went under 114 and a half. We started, I think, at 115, 115 and a half, I believe. I didn't get down to under 114 and a half. They took that down all the way down to under 112 and a half. I'm not sure where it sits now, but here's what's going to happen between now and kickoff. That's going to get bet back up. That'll get bet back up. What you need to be paying attention to if you're following lines, not jot down the lines where they are tonight, or even right now, even better, because it hasn't gotten a lot of public action, and then see if it moves back the opposite direction of where it's gone. Meaning we went under 115 and a half, 114 and a half, 113 and a half in the Barkley rushing yards. If you see that move back up to that 113, 14 and a half range, even 15 and a half range, and then comes back down again, then you could rest assured those are some of the strongest props on that game. Because that just means we bet it already, but we want to get even more money on it. Because I touched on yesterday, I had a guest on my UFC podcast that I do every week, and he's a professional bettor. Like, he doesn't have any social media, anything like that to promote, but he is, without a doubt, confirmed by Nick Kalikas, who was at Circa, is the number one profit winner at Circa since the place opened. And his bankroll's so big, this guy even has to bet late. You know what I mean? He's like, I'm willing to take less of an edge to get more money down. And so he's forced to even bet late on a lot of things where you're like, wait, isn't the key to get out ahead of the market? It is. But if you can't get a lot of money down, it doesn't do much for you. Guys like that aren't really going to be hitting a lot of these props because it's just not worth it to them. They can't get down enough money. But Sunday, they'll be able to get down more money than they could otherwise. Look at which of these move back to where the original Steam move looked like on any player props. If you see early that it went over, like Goddard, we went over 49 and a half receiving yards. Let's say it got up to 52 and a half, and then it got bet down by the public. That one probably won't, because we bet over first. It's usually if we bet under first, then they bet it over then, and then we come back over the top. If you saw that Goddard now come back down, got up to 52 and a half, but then by Sunday morning, as the money's rolling in, it's back down to 49 and a half, gets hit again and moves back up to that 51, 52 and a half, you know that is the side. Now, again, if you're waiting to confirm it to go back 2-3 points, what's the point? You didn't get the best of it again. But I'm saying pay close attention. Have odds logic up. At the very least, have the screen up, from WagerTalk, so that you can see it's starting to move in that direction again. Once it does, you can now jump on board, having that confidence that you're on the sharp side, you're on the strongest sharp sides, and you're even going to get some CLV that way. You're going to have some closing value, which at least, listen, I know it doesn't guarantee a winning bet, but it always makes me feel better, Steve. I feel like I've done my job. Like, if I get a +3 in the NFL and it goes off at +2, +1.5, I did my job as best I can. They got to go out there and do theirs. That I can't control that. It's like a fight. If I lay -150, it goes off at -200, and the implied win probability changed by 7%. I did my job. How it's going to happen is going to happen. They could fight that 3 hours later. It's a different result. But if you're getting CLV, you feel more confident. So for the props, that's the key. Like, don't be the last guy holding the bag. That's not where you want to be, because then you placed the bad bet and you're hoping for some good luck. It's like buying high on a stock or on a crypto. Right. You don't want to be the guy buying Bitcoin at 110. Sure, it could get to 120, but you'd feel a lot better if you bought down at 80,000, because now even if it drops 5-10%, you're still sleeping comfortable because your buy was so low. That to me is more comforting than anything else in all the markets that I invest in. I never want to be, you're never going to guess the top or the bottom of anything. But you definitely don't want to be the last guy at the top, the last guy at the bottom every time out. You're going to lose money that way. So I highly recommend looking at what the lines are right now and those props you really care about the most, where it opened at, where it's at, conclude what the sharp side is, because we were the only ones betting it on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, especially of last week, and then follow through the weekend what that line does. And after it does move in the public direction, does it get pounded back down? That's like a poker player check raising you, coming back over the top. He's probably holding something good. And those of you tend to do the best and tend to be the strongest props year in and year out. Like I said, we bet so many, Steve, honestly. I bet upwards of like 40, 50 props all over the board. And I know a lot of these, we might even come back the other way on Sunday. That's why my subscribers, I think I've given 9 or 10, and that's high volume for how I've been this year.
Well, let me ask you this real quick. I'll let you run. I mean, first of all, closing line value is important because the closing line is theoretically the most accurate line, just like the closing price for the week on a stock is the most accurate price because it takes in all the daytime movement, all the overreactions, underreactions, and it's the final price. That's the closing line. You know, Giannis is ruled out the other night for the Bucks like 2 minutes before tip-off. It had gone from 10 to 10.5 down to 8, like a minute before. Nobody really is able to bet that, but that's the accurate price based on all the known information. So if you're beating the closing line long-term, you're getting the better of the number, and you're never going to win less by getting an extra half point on every one of your bets.
Great point.
It's just not going to happen.
I'm going to steal that. That's a good one.
I just came up with that. You're welcome to steal it. We'll patent it right here. Yeah, you're never going to lose less by having an extra half point. You might not win any more. They might all be blowouts still, but you're not going to lose less. Let me ask you real quick, because I was thinking this as you're talking. I've thought of this for years. We've all said, Marco said it at the top, Andy Lang and I've talked about it, like, if you like the overs, play them sooner. If you like the under on these star player props, you wait until kickoff. If that's the case, why did you all play like Barkley a week early? Is this because you were afraid other sharp groups were going to see the same thing? You just don't want to be left out hanging?
That's the problem, and that's why that's one that I gave to my subscribers. I felt very confident in those. When we get out, when we're betting the overs, I'm not as confident because a lot of times that's just getting out ahead of the market, and then the market's going to bump it up even more. And by Sunday, these guys may work a middle. They're not telling me the reason they're betting every play. They're just putting the play out on the messaging board I'm on. That's it. You don't get the chance to ask why and stuff like that. But it's a zero-sum game, so no one's working with each other. We're all more or less working against each other in some sense. And when you see a prop like that where you think it's so advantageous, someone else is going to see it. So you got to take advantage of it. Now, with that said, if you didn't get down quick enough, you also feel like, you know what, this one may come back to us. Like I have the Mahomes. This one's not coming back to me. I have the Mahomes over 11.5 longest rush. I wasn't able to find it. The best I found was like 12.5, and I got it pretty quickly. That I was hoping would, come back down. It's not. Mahomes rush, the over is probably going to get bet. But some of those, like under Saquon Barkley, longest rush, under 25.5. You would think, why didn't we wait for that? Why did we lay 125 to go under 25.5? It's probably going to go up to 27.5. I think it's because, like you said, other groups are seeing that same thing. Like, wait, this should only be about 23.5. So let's not wait because someone else is going to pound it. And we can't be 100% sure that the public's going to come back and bet so much money on that prop, it goes back up. So that's the reason why I like, and those are, like I said, the Barkley unders, like that I had more confidence in. Now he could go out there and run for 200 yards and have a 50-yard rush, and we could lose all those under prop bets on Barkley. But that's the reason we would ever get out ahead on under early in Super Bowl props, because I know someone else is looking at it and they're going to take it, and we're not guaranteed that the public's pushing these all back up, because it's not. They're just not. It's not going to be every one that goes back to above where the opener was. Like, that's why I'm telling to track where it opened, where it moved to, and then if the public moves it back up, how high they move it back up before you could get a little better than you could right now. You probably, more of them, you ain't going to get more. You may, but you probably won't get more. Like, I doubt I'm going to see under 17.5 in rushing yards for Barkley, to where our under 112.5 wasn't a good bet. So that's how I look at those when we bet early on, especially on those unders like you touched on, because it is. That's what you should be doing. You should be betting most of the unders late and most of the overs early, just like some of the yeses and nos. You should be betting the negatives early, the pluses late, because that's what the public does. They're going to be taking advantage of, or the opposite, actually, because they're going to be taking advantage of the pluses. They want to put up a little money to win and stuff.
Yeah, and I'm going to touch on that in the Fade the Public video this week. And this is the one time a year, well, big games in general is the one time the public all of a sudden starts looking at underdogs. We see that in March Madness. We see that in the playoffs. But it's also the one time they take big plus money prices, like yes on overtime, yes on, like 2-point conversion. You were talking about that when you guys like the no at minus. So, yeah, I'll have a deep dive into that. But you literally just saved me 30 minutes of prep, because that was golden stuff I can use for the video this weekend, because I was very curious how you were looking at it. I think we're on the same page. One of my favorite Seinfeld lines ever. Gold, Jerry, gold. That's exactly how I feel from that segment. Hey, tell people more about the Steam Room. If people like that little snippet right there, that was like the Steam Room on Saturday and Sunday. Also a little bit of a last call preview as well.
Yeah, I wish I had time to do Saturday and Sunday this week because of the big UFC card that's going off tomorrow and just so much college basketball. And last week we had a chance to go through every single game. So I could give opinions even on what we didn't get down on. We went through every one, Steve. I stayed 2.5 hours, almost 3 hours, all of them. But we're going to go back to Saturday next week. But this Sunday, I wanted to be there for the Super Bowl early enough in the morning so that bettors could enjoy their day, go to their parties and all that. And I'll have more than enough information at that time. And we're going to be able to go over the Super Bowl, go over all the props, most of the props. By that time, I'll have all access to the back ends that we have access to. So we'll see where the Square accounts are coming in on any late sharp action stuff. We'll go over also any NBA, college basketball, anything on that's coming there. And more importantly, and finally, we'll go over year-to-date results, week-to-date results, long-term results, and of course, looking forward to the Blackjack Seminar that will be within 2 weeks after the Super Bowl. Again, I will be playing this weekend. In fact, I'm going out tonight with the goal of playing some blackjack, sneaking in the high limit because it's Super Bowl weekend. And if it's the only opportunity us advantage players in blackjack have to mix in with the regular people and even at the higher limits. Otherwise, I got to be playing the green tables because there's no way. High limit now, they all have facial recognition. So it's not even before I'd have to ask to get rated before I got kicked out. And if you're not getting rated and playing high limit, they already know to kick you out because who wants to bet? Why would you be betting 100, 500 a hand and not want the free room? That's ridiculous. The only reason is because you don't want to tell us your name. And unless you're wanted for murder, it's probably because you're an advantage player in our system. So that's here you could sneak in. They don't even have time. They don't even care. Okay, this guy's just here for the Super Bowl. He wants to play a little blackjack. He probably never will come back, so he don't care about his rating. They don't care about IDs unless you're not buying in for more than 10,000 because they got to fill out a CTR. Your goal.
Right.
So I'll be out there playing blackjack, warming up for that seminar coming up.
That's a great line. I'm stealing that one from you. If you're playing high limit and not getting rated, there's probably a reason. That's a fantastic line. Other than being a murderer, I like that. It's probably because you have an edge. I saw that earlier. That's another thing I was going to ask you. If folks find out more about it in the Steamer, you can ask Sunday. But the Blackjack Seminar, very excited. And the promo for that is fantastic. Video of him getting booted. If that's not enough reason to want to learn how to play like a pro and have an edge, I don't know what is. Gianni the Greek, Vegas runner, WT.buzz/VR. You can get there quicker on WagerTalk.com. You'll be here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, noon Sunday. And he's got the Steam Room Sunday. Check out his page. Greek, thank you. Great. Best of luck. And I actually will cross paths with him tomorrow because I believe I will be on Last Call also on Saturday. I'm tied up on Sunday, busy with the Super Bowl, so we're going to do a Saturday appearance. I will talk college hoops. Super Bowl, you can also check out my videos. College basketball top 25 for Saturday. NFL Super Bowl Fade the Public edition with side total and props. Both of those will be up later tonight into the weekend. So click subscribe, click the bell here on Wager Talk TV so you never miss out when a free video is posted. And seriously, the more thumbs up, likes, the more comments, the more reply backs I'll give, and also the more free videos we'll do here on a daily basis. Don't forget, Super Bowl to Super Bowl special starts this Sunday, gets you 365 days and nights through next year's Super Bowl. But if you sign up in advance, either this Friday or Saturday, you're getting the extra days for free. Also, an $800 instant discount gets it down to $3 a day, $23 a week, $3 a day, about $1 a play. No promo code needed. Multiple cappers. Every capper is available at WagerTalk.com. Best of luck this weekend. Stay tuned. There's a lot more free content coming up next right here on Wager Talk.